Hi everyone, so this is my presentation on what participation means to me, and I will be telling you the short story of how I came about to work with Glasgow Women's Aid. So my first point of contact with Glasgow Women's Aid was through outreach when I was still in primary school, and outreach helped me quite a lot when I was going through a very tough time. My support worker would come and visit me at school or take me out for fun activities, and we would do all of these fun things together, and she was there for me and helped me a whole lot. Myself and so many other children and young people are super grateful for Glasgow Women's Aid and our amazing support workers. After my time with outreach was over, I was invited to take part in several participation projects, including Everyday Heroes, Yello, and also recruiting a Women's Aid worker. So first I want to tell you about my experience of helping/advising on recruiting a Women's Aid worker, and that was actually a really fun and exciting thing to work on and help with. It was myself and another young person, and we worked together to interview applicants for a job at Glasgow Women's Aid, and we even made up some of the questions that we asked the applicants, and it was just such a fun process, and it felt very professional and stuff. And I feel that this was a very important participation opportunity. As someone who went through the service, I knew how important it was to have a nice and kind worker, and so I felt honoured to be able to help recruit someone who would help children and young people the same way that my worker helped me.
Scotland and Glasgow Women's Aid have been a real part of this for many years, are seen as at the forefront of children and young people, young survivors of domestic abuse, being involved in policy. First of all, it started from the outside. Some of you, Marie, I know, at Glasgow, will remember the Listen Louder campaign by Scottish Women's Aid, and I was lucky enough to work there then, and to do the research behind it. And that was young people face to face with ministers regularly over 3 years, and it was kind of like question time, and only the young people and the adults could speak. And I still think that's a wonderful model that we've used, maybe in a more sophisticated way with Yello, going as ghosts to the Parliament and speaking to ministers, but we've learned from and used ever since. But that's been very much children as kind of activists and experts on the outside, and then coming into Parliament or into government and speaking to someone, or some of the Power Up, Power Down children, did workshops with civil servants, and then a kind of more equal way of trying to express their feelings on contact and law.
As has hopefully been shown, the court order process has often devastating outcomes for both women and children who find themselves involved. As a way of adapting our own services to continue to best support families affected by court-ordered contact, I'm delighted to say that we developed a new peer-led service. This was in recognition that victims with shared, lived experiences might finally feel empowered to use their voice after having been silenced, disbelieved and disregarded by the family courts for so long. In addition, our organisation has also been committed for some time in supporting victims to engage in policy initiatives. In particular, we've supported children who have been affected by domestic abuse to be involved in participation work focused primarily on improving children's rights. We think it's so important that the experiences of the children in our services are acknowledged and their voices are heard so that change continues to happen.
Power Up, Power Down was the first research project that Glasgow Women's Aid worked on with Scottish Women's Aid and the Children's Rights Commissioning Office, including Bruce Adamson, who the children really enjoyed meeting and even playing football with outside the Scottish Parliament. Power Up, Power Down was research about court-ordered contact in Scotland. The project highlighted that children have little power in their lives when it comes to court-ordered contact, and that it was time for people in power to listen to what they have to say. We are delighted to say the First Minister was one such person who listened. The findings of Power Up, Power Down were devastating in many ways and showed that Scotland has a long way to go when it comes to getting it right for children. The young experts in this project were very clear that the views of children about who they want to have contact with are absolutely central to contact cases, and that sheriffs must start listening to the views of children, no matter what age they are. They also stipulated that it should be done in a child-focused and flexible way, and they gave lots of suggestions. They also developed a super listener to help guide professionals on how to speak to children. We have previously mentioned inequalities between men and women and how this can impact the justice system. Therefore, we were keen for our young people to be involved in the Everyday Heroes programme, which included young people from all over Scotland.
Next up was Everyday Heroes, and that was a super exciting and very empowering project. It was really like my first big participation project, and unlike recruiting a worker at Women's Aid, this project involved quite a lot of young people from different services and not just Glasgow Women's Aid. I believe there was some children from Scottish Women's Aid, as well as like Bernardo's and all of these amazing organisations as well. So Everyday Heroes was also quite a impactful project, and it gave me the unique opportunity of meeting and speaking to other children and young people who have experienced domestic abuse or gender-based violence. And we really got together to speak to people in power at Parliament, to tell them about our experiences and the importance of services that help. And this was a very important project for me, as it not only gave me so many fantastic opportunities in itself, but also really set me up and prepared me for other participation projects that I was later involved with.
The Everyday Heroes slogan was "Children and young people committed to working together with people in power to make a safer and more equal Scotland."
Following on from Power Up, Power Down, Glasgow Women's Aid enjoyed working with Scottish Women's Aid again, this time as part of another initiative, the International Improving Court Ordered Contact Project, also known as IGCC. We developed a panel of amazing young experts who decided to name themselves Yello. The Yello young experts came from backgrounds of domestic abuse, and all of them had some experience of the justice system too. Yello agreed with the Power Up, Power Down findings, particularly that children must be heard by sheriffs directly, and they hope to see a big change on this front due to the newly passed bill, which we will shortly hear more about from Susie. Yello have also raised that they're concerned about children not being believed by sheriffs. They questioned why sheriffs at times prefer the explanation that a child would lie about abuse or has been coerced by their mother, rather than the sheriff simply accepting and believing that the child lived in a household with domestic abuse. Yello also asked that sheriffs should rightly perceive domestic abuse as a high risk factor in relation to children's safety and make their decisions about any contact with the utmost care and caution. They echoed the concern that sheriffs prioritise the rights of abusers over the rights of children to be safe. They highlighted that when speaking to survivors, we hear a lot about fathers' rights, but we don't hear so much about mums' rights, despite mums also being victims.
I'm Susie Dalton. I'm the Children and Young People's Policy Officer in Scottish Women's Aid. Before I tell you a wee bit more about Yello and the Children Scotland Act, I just wanted to say a massive congratulations to everyone who's been involved in this. It is such an amazing resource for children and young people, and I know it's been the result of years of work, so a huge congratulations to all of the children and young people and the workers who've been involved in it, and I hope you're excited about the launch this week. You heard a wee bit about Yello already. In terms of the Children Scotland Act, this was a major piece of legislation which was laid before Parliament in September 2019. It was the first piece of primary legislation which has come out of the Scottish Government's work to reform family law in Scotland, and it sought to improve the experiences of children and young people in the family courts and also improve protection for survivors of domestic abuse. We met with Yello and the coordinator of the IGCC project and Yello support workers from Glasgow Women's Aid to discuss what this legislation contained, what it could do, what was missing, what could be improved. And Yello had a ton of recommendations. I think so often in Yello's experience of the civil courts, either the law didn't go far enough to protect children and young people, or even in instances where there were good things in the law, these weren't necessarily implemented or available in a way that actually really benefited a lot of children and young people. They knew that children's participation needed to be strengthened in the bill, that there needed to be more protection for children's information in the courts, to have access to support and advocacy workers in civil court processes as well. All of these things were incorporated into the bill as it moved through Parliament, thanks to Yello's recommendations and to the work across the sector in Scotland, across the children's rights sector. They were also really clear about what needs to happen in the next stages of this legislation. So things like contact centre regulation of child welfare reporters. I think it is just such a clear example of how important it is for children and young people to speak directly to power, what can come as a result of that. And I think from our side, again, it's just a huge thank you to everyone who's been involved in this work, to Glasgow Women's Aid's amazing support workers, to Sue McKellar, the project coordinator of the IGCC project, who coordinated Yello's work, and to the MSPs who've been involved and who've listened and who've acted on Yello's recommendations as well. But obviously the biggest thank you goes to Yello for all of their amazing work on this act and the fact that it's resulted in positive developments for many children and young people. So that's all from me. I hope you enjoy the rest of today's session.
These past 2 years working with Yello have been so fantastic. I have had so many amazing opportunities to express my thoughts and opinions on how to improve things for children and young people, and it's been really great actually being listened to. I think that it's extremely important to listen to children and young people and give us a chance to help make change. I really like that Yello is a whole group of young people because it's such an interesting experience seeing so many different ideas, backgrounds and personalities come together to solve problems and get things done. We all have different qualities that made Yello so amazing and achieve so much, and I think that's wonderful, and that there should be more participation projects out there for young people to get involved in.
Hi there, my name's Rona Mackay and I'm the MSP for Strathkelvin and Bearsden. I am absolutely passionate about children having a voice, and I'm really pleased that we have been putting through some good legislation in the past year which gives children their voice and that children will be listened to. So we've got the UNCRC bill, which means that children's rights will be woven into every piece of legislation that we do. The Children's Scotland bill, which we passed at the end of last year, a fantastic bill which helps children to have their say and have their wishes taken when it comes to big decisions. Well, I'm on the Justice Committee, and during evidence taking we had a young group called Yello, and they were working with Women's Aid, who came in to give us in a private session to give us their experience of their journey through the justice system. And it was absolutely unbelievable, and it made such an impact on the whole committee that, you know, those young people can be assured that they were heard and that they shaped that bill and they made that bill their own. So this is an example of, you know, the good things that are happening. Really necessary now for children to have a voice, particularly during COVID when they are suffering, and we will do everything we can to have them put at the forefront of everything that we do. Domestic abuse protection orders are going through Parliament just now. We're at stage 1 of the bill, and that'll be a game changer for women and children who have experienced or are experiencing domestic abuse, where the perpetrator will be removed from the family home. So those are just some of the things that we're doing. I just want to thank all the children and young people that have done so much to have their voices heard, but we want to help them along the way, all the way.
I have to say that Yello is probably my favourite participation project that I've been part of. So by the time that I got to working on Yello, I really felt like I was a veteran in participation projects because I had been part of so many and they've all been so amazing. And at this point I really did feel like a young expert because I had so many opinions. I knew so much about just like services that are available and domestic abuse and kind of like a young person's experience with it. Yello was quite a challenging project, to be honest, you know, with like the lockdown last year and stuff. And I mean, it was quite a long project as well. It was 2 years. Like, just imagine going to speak to like MSPs and ministers at Parliament every few months. Like, that definitely pushes you out of your comfort zone and builds your confidence so much, which has really impacted me positively in many other aspects of my life. So this project gave me so many brilliant opportunities that I otherwise would have never done, and it's opened so many doors for me. And I really have to thank Glasgow Women's Aid for that, because without their service and amazing work, I wouldn't have ever been able to meet the amazing people and do all the important things that I have. Glasgow Women's Aid are fantastic. So working on all of these amazing participation projects has given me the opportunity to actually work at Glasgow Women's Aid as a sessional worker. And I have gained so much experience through all the projects I've been part of, and this has allowed me to be part of this amazing organisation and make even more of a difference for children and young people, and that's just so great. And I feel very, very lucky and honoured again to have these opportunities.
It's that outside in, and I think we've built up structures now for children and young people to be heard in policy making and by politicians and the commissions and others, but that there should be some young people, just it doesn't have to be representative, it just has to be large, but there should be a group that sees the policy through, equally safe policy, next stage. So now we should be looking at the next group. And that's what we've not done yet. We've not achieved a sustained participation in policy making. So yeah, I don't think we've quite got there yet, but I think we are doing really well compared to other countries. And Glasgow's been at the forefront right from the beginning, from the 90s. And I think Glasgow Women's Aid should be really proud of that, and up to the latest, which is Yello, and the project where some of us are involved in, which is CAFIDA, about looking at improving services across the UK. So your reach is getting even more. You've got the UK project and the European project with Yello, so amazing work. But the government nationally, we need to do more and make it sustainable.
And I want to say that participation projects are amazing because they make a real difference and support very impactful changes that will help children and young people feel safer in the future, amongst many other things, of course. But they also change the lives of the children and young people involved by allowing them to meet others with similar experiences. And that's very important, to be able to talk about what you've been through, even if it's something quite tough to talk about. It's important to have that opportunity to meet like-minded people who help you work through stuff a lot of the time. But it also helps children and young people build their confidence and self-esteem, and this potentially opens up many doors for them in their future, and that's amazing, you know? And I really hope that more children and young people get the chance to take part in participation projects, because they really are so wonderful. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to Women's Aid for all that they have done for me, and let's hope that the future brings more amazing projects, just like the ones that I've been part of. So thank you. Thank you so much.